next speaker gives us permission, perhaps a mandate, to just sit back and daydream. So, take a breath, relax, let your mind wander, and please welcome Tor Myhren.
Thanks so much. Hello, everyone. I read something recently. There was a poll of 1,500 of the top CEOs in America from all different industries. And the poll found that the #1 leadership competency of the future is creativity. And at first, this kind of tripped me out. It didn't quite make sense. But if you think about it, we really don't make stuff here in America anymore, right? We can't really compete on price. So we're not building shit, you know? What we do is we're not a manufacturing country. However, we're an idea country. So the idea is still king, probably now more than ever. So today I want to talk about cultivating creativity in the workplace. Because if these CEOs are looking for creativity, I've got a little bit of bad news for them. There's two sort of intelligence tests that are given very commonly in the US. One of them, of course, is the IQ. Another one's called the CQ, right? So the good news is the intelligence quotient, the IQ, has gone up for as long as they've given the test, and it continues to go up. The bad news is that, and the CQ's been given since the 1950s, over the past 5 years, for the first time ever, creativity in America is going down. So why is that? I think it's because creativity takes two things. It takes time and it takes nurturing. And I don't think the workplace offers either one of those things. I call this the daydreamer's dilemma. You know, we don't really just hang out, sit in the park, and just let our minds wander anymore, with nobody looking over our shoulder, right? And nobody telling us what to do. We're too busy, and work's too hectic, right? For us to just think about when you were a kid, right? I mean, this is basically my childhood in a slide, okay? I mean, it was Yoda, you know, the little figurines and all his buddies, right? And I was taking them on adventures, and I was creating worlds with them. I had hundreds of these things, and I fabricated personalities for every single one of these characters, right? There were no boundaries to where my mind was going, and there was no one telling me what this people couldn't be. And I ask all of you, when's the last time that you had the time to think that openly and creatively? And I'll give you a harder question. When was the last time at work that you had the time to think that openly and creatively? Whenever I don't have time to come up with a good idea, I think about Abraham Lincoln. He wrote the entire Gettysburg Address on the train ride to Gettysburg, right? But here's the catch. The train ride was 2 days long, right? So that dude was playing with Yoda for 2 days. You know, he's daydreaming, he's imagining, he's creating, he ends up writing one of the greatest speeches of all time, right? I'll tell you what he wasn't doing, though. He wasn't making calls on his cell phone, okay? He wasn't returning emails. And he certainly wasn't doing this, right? I mean, this is a wonderful thing and it's a terrible thing. You know, go to Starbucks. Nobody's really enjoying their coffee, right? They're typing. Not because it's bad coffee. They're typing, right? And they're texting and they're updating their status, right? They're on Twitter and, you know, I need to pee, right? I just peed. This is where I pee. Why am I peeing? Look at this pee. And of course, my favorite, I'm good at peeing, right? So, anyway. So I steal a lot of my management philosophies from a study that was done. It's one of the most famous studies ever on creativity. It was done in 1992. It's called Creativity Killers. The interesting thing about this is this was done with children. And really, it was a massive study, and it looked into exactly what are the things that most discourage creativity in children. There's something very interesting about this, because I'm not going to talk about children. I'm going to talk about adults. But the first thing is surveillance, right? Hovering over kids, making them feel like they're constantly being watched. The risk-taking and creative urge hides. I'm just going to do one thing, right? Welcome to the American workplace, basically, right? We're always hawking over you or watching you punch the clock, right? And I think that this really crushes the creative urges that people would normally have. I'm very inspired by an old client of mine. His name's Steve Wilhite. And he told me, you can't work on my business if you're afraid to make heroic failures, right? And I love that sentiment because by eliminating the fear and letting me know it was okay to fuck up a little bit, we were able to do some really amazing things. Then I left that job, I went and I was running the advertising for Cadillac. And had my first big shot at a huge Super Bowl spot, you know, a couple $1 million production. This was my big chance. Did a rather edgy spot that it was a bit polarizing. And when I say polarizing, I mean like I was over here. I thought it was pretty cool. And then there was 110 million Super Bowl viewers over here that thought it sucked, right? So a few weeks later, we lost the $300 million Cadillac account. The New York Times wrote an article and said that we lost the account because the spot sucked so bad and put my name in the article, which was nice, I thought. And so I called Steve Wilhite and I'm like, hey man, how about that for a heroic failure? You know? And he's like, it was definitely a failure. So a year later, I moved to New York and was started to run a big agency there. And the stage was perfectly set for my next heroic failure. It really was. I mean, the economy was falling apart. It was melting down. Nobody was trusting banks and Wall Street and brokers. And yet we had to do a big Super Bowl commercial for a financial company called ETRADE, right? And this was not exactly the right time to be doing that, but we had a very brave client. And both of us decided collectively, let's do this. So we rolled the dice on a talking, puking baby in the financial sector, right? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I'm going to play a quick film.
A lot of people are like, aren't you too young to invest in the markets? And, you know, A, don't worry about it. I mean, you don't know how old I am. And B, I use E-Trade, so check it. Click. I just bought stock. You just saw me buy stock. No big deal. I mean, you know, if I can do it, you can do it. Whoa.
It's so easy, there are 1,000 new accounts a day at E-Trade.
Let's go!
E-Trade ads with the talking baby.
You know the E-Trade baby? Guess what? Today that baby was adopted by Angelina.
That E-Trade commercial with the little boy that goes on and does his trade. Now that is just sheer genius.
E-Trade babies.
And E-Trade, the E-Trade one. The little E-Trade baby.
Love them always is that E-Trade baby.
Hold on. It's that baby that trades stocks. I love this kid.
That is a cute baby.
Oh, what a bad girl.
Frank, it was on the cart path. Why don't you try reading the rules, Shankopotamus?
Well, he's a friend of my father's, though. Your father's? He's a terrible, terrible dancer. He's actually right, but what up, Mike? Hey, dude. Yeah, this is how he dances.
Dude, broken.
No.
I want to punch the economy in the face.
Mom puts me in timeout. This is bullshit. Complete bullshit.
Oh my goodness.
Dude,
Oh, I see. Solitary. Just a man and his thoughts. And a smartphone. With an E-Trade app. You know, I mean, the boys are talking about what to do with all this extra coin. I was like, I'm renting a clown. And I did. A Bobo here. And I really underestimated the creepiness.
So, thank you. So here we are, almost 4 years later with that campaign. And too much surveillance, believe me, going into something like that at the agency level or at the client level, that never would have happened. So let's go on to the second creativity killer. Which is over control. Constantly telling kids how to do things often leaves them feeling like their originality is a mistake and any exploration a waste of time, right? And the simple change there is, right? Again, this is a huge problem, I think, because we all know the answers, right? When we're in management, we kind of force these proven solutions on our people. We don't really let them explore and find something that's maybe a better solution. I think it's because we're all scared. It's a tough economy out there. We're all freaking out. We have to be safe, and we have to be so smart. Everything we got to do is so smart. I mean, we got a smart car now, right? We got a smart phone. Got a smart bomb, right? We got fucking smart water, right? So, I have a rule. Once a day, you have to be stupid, okay? Seriously, explore the ridiculous, Go to really, really dumb places, and you'll be very, very surprised at what you find, because smart may have the brains, but stupid has the balls, right? So here's something really stupid, right? So How about the baby is in a Skype conversation with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend's pissed off at him because he didn't call last night, and then his other girlfriend bum rushes that conversation, and her name just happens to be Lindsay. Let's take a look.
So yeah, sorry about last night.
I just don't understand why you didn't call.
Yeah, well, I was on E-Trade, you know, diversifying my portfolio, taking control like a wolf.
Right.
What's that? That's volatility in the market. Taken care of, wolf style. Oh, oh, oh.
And that milkaholic Lindsay wasn't over?
Lindsay?
Milka what?
This is ridiculous.
She thinks that is so obviously her that Lohan is now suing E-Trade.
Good luck with that one.
Does she have a mental problem, narcissism, or is this a pure PR ploy?
No way in the world I would ever let any of my clients file a lawsuit like this.
It just seems kind of silly.
I didn't even think of Lindsay when I saw that ad.
Might be a tough one to prove.
Yeah.
Lindsay says she's suing you for $100 million because your commercial hurt her career.
What career?
It's outrageous.
So what is it? She heard Lindsay and Holic and just thought...
The actress has dropped her $100 million lawsuit against the brokerage firm E-Trade over a Super Bowl ad that featured a milkaholic baby named Lindsay.
Oh, oh, oh.
So, I love how serious that last news clip is, you know, about like a milkaholic baby named Lindsay. I don't know what this says about our country that this story was worth 50,000 big news story. It doesn't say anything good about our country, by the way. But we got stupid and it paid off in this particular time. The third creativity killer is competition, right? So putting kids in a win-lose situation where only one person can come out on top does not foster creativity. Collaboration does, right? And you can absolutely say the same thing about the workplace, right? And right now, I think is the most collaborative era that we've ever lived in. I mean, and mostly because of the digital space. It's unbelievable, right? And not to mention that the millennials they're now coming into the workplace, and we got to get used to it. It's a totally different mindset, right? I mean, I'm Gen X. It's all about me. But, you know, the millennials they're you know, pure teamwork, and they really believe in the collective, and it's unreal what this younger generation is doing in the workplace. So this is our workspace. You know, this is there's a lot of these humongous cork walls where ideas come together. Put it up on the wall, and you can comment on any idea that's on the wall. So it's almost like YouTube comments, but in real life. And it's a really good way to just get people together and get things going. This is we have about 800 people at our agency. None of us have an office. I am a strong believer that walls, both literally and figuratively, stop ideas from going places, right? So we all like a very good flow, so that there's nothing to stop that idea from growing. You got a bunch of people in one room. They can all add on to that idea. Ideas are living things. They want to grow too, right? This is actually in our office. It's a bedroom. I don't want to talk about the collaboration there. We'll move on. So E-Trade is really kind of a classic case of radical collaboration. I won't read all these, but this is in a little less than 4 years what's gone into that. Our client's name is Nick Utton. He's an amazing guy. You know, over 60 million YouTube hits, and 25 comedians, tons of writers. Literally 800 scripts have been written for this. But all the spots end up being ad-libbed anyway, so that's kind of a weird number. So really, E-Trade is the poster child for radical collaboration. The collaborations going on in the digital space is phenomenal because everybody's out there, everybody can see it, and everybody wants in. So with all the talk today about radical collaboration, I just have to say, I'm talking about the creative process, and I need to talk about Howard Roark, who's the architect, the protagonist in this book, right? And he does not believe in decision by committee, to say the least. And he's at a party, and there's a very popular sort of art critic who's very kind of, kind of loves mediocrity. And he probably, he thinks Howard Roark is probably a little bit resentful of him because he's not writing stories about Howard's work. And he walks up to Howard and he says, we're alone now, Howard. You can tell me what you really think about me. And Howard says, but I don't think about you. And I think this is actually a critical lesson in the creative process, because in the creative process, there is a time to be radically uncollaborative. And I mean this. Don't think about your critics. Don't think about your friends. Don't think about your boss, right? Just do something, think about your heart and follow it. Do something that you really love, and chances are it's going to be pretty cool. This is the last thing I want to talk about. I hate this. I hear this all the time. I hear this in my industry, which is odd. I'm not creative, right? I don't even understand. What does this even mean? All I know is that if you say this, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you say you're not creative, trust me, you're not going to be creative. And by the way, there's 1,500 of the top CEOs in America that the number one thing they're looking for is creative ideas, right? They want creative people. So I wouldn't be running around shouting this from the rooftops right now if you want a job. But here's the dirty little secret about anybody that says this, right? I know a dirty little secret about them. They played with Yoda, okay? They did, because we all did, right? We all did this. We made the couch into this futuristic fort. We did the finger paintings that our parents put up on the refrigerators. We all did this. Picasso says every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once he grows up, right? Think about that. It's pretty amazing. So here we are, right? We're all grown up. We live in this amazing time where anything's possible. And our creative quotient is falling, right? This is tragic. So how do we overcome this? How do we overcome the daydreamer's dilemma? I have only one little hint at this, which is this is my little baby girl. She's a month old. Her name's Reka. She will not be the next E-Trade baby, by the way. But she's pretty awesome. And the way she looks at the world is just, it's amazing, She's so interested in everything, and her eyes just, the curiosity and the openness, and soon her little brain is going to be inventing these worlds, and playing with Yoda and creating, well, probably not Yoda because he's so out of fashion now, but, creating art. And there's a writer, Elizabeth Stone, and she said, to have a child is to forever have your heart go walking around outside your body, right? And I, with Reka now, I totally understand this, but I also really, really believe in reciprocal relationships, okay? And, if she's going to go walking around with my heart in her hands, I'm going to go walking around looking through her eyes. Thank you so much.